All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Bitcoin Brief with your host, Tone Vays, the usual co-host, Jimmy Song. And for the second show in a row, we are joined by the Bitcoin Mechanic. You had an awesome debut, got a lot of positive comments on it. So we're bringing Bitcoin Mechanic back. How are you guys? Start, I guess. Now there's more people like Mechanic. How about you? We'll go with you first, man. How are you doing? You guys were both at Bitcoin 2021. I hope you guys met each other there in person as well.
Yeah, we did, man. I'm still buzzing after the conference, man. Maybe that's just the COVID talking, but I'm feeling really good. Like, it was great to see and meet all these Bitcoiners I've been, learning from over the last 10 years. It was incredible. It was an incredible thing. And it was sad. I was really emotional and sad after the conference that it was over. I just had a great time.
How about you, Jimmy?
Well, I missed the meat. I ate something like 60 ounces of meat every night that I was there, and I haven't been able to put down that much since. So I'm a little sad about that. But yeah, other than that, it's been great.
All right. Yeah, we're going to talk about the conference a little bit. Jimmy, how was your workshop over there?
It was great.
The first 2 days. It's probably been a year and a half.
Yeah. Taught 14 developers. Going to do it again in the Bitcoin Standard Conference and what a Escablo or something like that.
I think it's Ensenada.
Ensenada. Okay, I don't know.
Ensenada, Mexico. Yeah, I'm in Cabo right now. Yeah.
Yeah, but it went really well. Taught 14 developers. One of them was already contributing to core, but wanted to learn the rest of the system, so took my class. So that was really good.
Sweet, man.
Yeah, very, very cool. Bitcoin Mechanic might be there as well, hanging out with us in Ensenada. So, but if I'm there early enough, I'm going to join Giacomo's workshop on how to build a node. I can always use help. After that, maybe I'll join you. I used to code, but I just don't like it. All right, guys, let's go and talk some stories. Well, let's talk about the conference. This is all the headlines in the news. How many people have been tested positive for COVID? There's 12,000 people there, guys. False positives alone is enough to write an article of how many people caught COVID. Like Bitcoin, there's never any positive news on the mainstream media about Bitcoin. It's kind of like just like there's no positive news of people getting healthier from COVID, and there's never any negative news about the vaccine. Well, like this is when in reality is the complete opposite. But anyway, what were your takeaways from the conference, other than what the media is trying to portray that it was a COVID spreading event? Jimmy, we'll start with you.
I thought the El Salvador news was great, and it was. I was in the air on my way home when it was announced, but when I found out about it, I was like, okay, this will be very interesting. We'll talk about that more later, obviously. I thought, I didn't actually attend too many talks. It was mostly just hanging out with people that I haven't seen in a while. And that was very valuable. It was a little bit of a zoo. There really were 12,000 people, so it was a little too much. But yeah, it was still really fun, especially because of the amount of meat I got to eat.
Yeah, I thought it was just great. There was a lot of meat. I didn't eat any of the food at the actual conference, though. But me and Tone grabbed a lot of meat-only meals sort of after. That was great. When it comes to the talks, like you, Jimmy, I didn't really see that many talks because it was so over capacity that you couldn't get into the Nakamoto stage for most of it. You could see it from outside, but no one wanted to be outside because it was so hot where the screen was that everyone just went into the smaller tents, like the stacking sat stage and the end of fiat stage, which is where my talk was. And then you could just sit in there and have the air conditioning on, be comfortable, and look at whoever was talking and just kind of maybe absorb some of it or not. But there were some great talks. There was a lot of shitcoinery, which they've got a lot of flack for. Maybe righteously. I don't want to be too harsh because You have, Tone, you've organized conferences. I haven't before. I don't know how difficult it is, but there was certainly a lot of shitcoinery there. And the BitPay tent right in the middle where you could buy a drink, they didn't know what Lightning was. And I wasn't surprised about that. But at the same time, I was like, look, you're at a Bitcoin conference. You accept Bitcoin. I'm asking if I could pay with Lightning and you literally don't know what it is. That seems kind of ridiculous. Like you're the center stage in in the whole conference area. Other than that, though, I've, like you, Jimmy, yeah, I didn't watch much talks when I was there, but I've been watching them on YouTube since I got back. There was some fantastic stuff. And obviously, the Jack Mallers thing is a highlight, but we'll get on to El Salvador later on in the show.
All right. Oh, you know what? Later on in the show is now. Let's just move on to the El Salvador news. Now, yes, they announced that Bitcoin is going to be legal tender. Which again, like I'm not just use it. Like why? Like Bitcoin should just be free to use for everyone, right? Like there's transaction fees, but like you shouldn't need laws to allow people to spend something. But anyway, it's legal tender. But the more important thing to me is they're actually embracing Bitcoin and the government and the central banks will probably hold on to Bitcoin. And I believe El Salvador is already pegged to the US dollar. So this could be the first country to actually, say screw the US dollar and we're just going to use Bitcoin. And I guess, Jimmy, we'll start with you on this one. I know you were on the plane when the news broke. Jack Mallers is, of course, incredible, but it's got to be like, the U.S. government doesn't actually really like their citizens to be meeting with foreign presidents. So hope it all ends well for Jack Mallers. But he's now, it's like I heard Cody Wilson once say, if you're going to be on a list, better to be at the top of the list. At least everybody knows you. So, Jimmy, we'll get your comments first on this one.
Yeah, so you have to recognize, first of all, that El Salvador already has a big Bitcoin community before this announcement. So Bitcoin Beach is an initiative where there's a whole community of people using Lightning to pay each other for their goods and services. And this has been going on for a while. So it's not like President Bukele was like, okay, we're going to lead our country into this new realm. And, even though no one knows about it, I'm going to make it happen. Something that his citizens already were doing something with. So this is more sort of like solidifying what's already happening in his country. The important thing about legal tender status is that because it's a currency there, you don't get capital gains tax on it because you can go there if you bought Bitcoin and the purchasing power goes up. You don't have to pay taxes.
That's a great point.
Time you do that. So that's an incredibly good thing for the people of El Salvador. I spent some time with Senator Lummis and her staff during the conference, and I think this is their sort of model of government. Is that we're here to help you is the message that they told me is. Like whatever the people are doing already, we just want to make sure that you guys are secure in doing that. And we want to make sure you're not like, the government isn't getting in the way or whatever. And we want to make sure that you're, what you're doing isn't like there aren't regulations or whatever. And this feels very much like that to me because it does take away that capital gains tax part of Bitcoin, which is so annoying. The other thing about this particular announcement is that the president seems to be very much into Bitcoin. I think he was on Nick Carter's Twitter Spaces the night that it got passed and everything. And he seems like a Bitcoin maximalist. I'm not really entirely sure. But, apparently they have a lot of volcanoes and they got, which means that they have a lot of geothermal energy that they can use. It comes out as steam that can easily turn a turbine, converted it to electricity and power a bunch of Bitcoin miners. And I can see this becoming a way to make a lot of the geothermal energy sources viable very quickly, instead of having to build out, costly transmission lines from the geothermal energy source all the way out to where the people actually are. You can build that out slowly as you get, Bitcoin miners there, and as you make money, they won't need like, loans from the IMF and so on. They could just sort of like sustainably build.
All right, Lex, let's go over to you on the overall El Salvador news. And Jimmy already mentioned the mining coming off volcano geothermal. I'm a huge fan of geothermal energy. I studied that 20 years ago now when I was in university and studying geology, ironically.
Yeah, I mean, the geothermal thing's great. It's a beautiful counter to the energy FUD. I mean, it's like the president even knows specifically what we're up against in the propaganda war when he tweeted a picture saying, what you see here is 100% water vapor. He's like saying this is the cleanest possible way to mine Bitcoin. So come at me, bro, when it comes to the energy FUD people. And like you say, Jimmy, it's a great point. This is the constant point we make with Bitcoin ultimately being the route to have renewable energy being viable and making something that's renewable but not 100% reliable so no one uses it. Bitcoin provides an incentive for people to actually build out and flesh out infrastructure and make it economically viable without carbon taxes or any of this nonsense. So yeah, like you say, rather than take a loan from the IMF and build out a grid to get power all the way from the volcano to wherever people are populated, which surprisingly enough isn't on the side of a volcano usually. Instead, you have Bitcoin miners come along, provide an industry, build out some energy, and then they can slowly expand that. And then the whole thing just works so much better, and there's no predatory lending on the part of the IMF. More generally, though, with El Salvador, like people are trying to put the brakes on the good news. And I understand that because, people come along and there's significant, massive developments, just like with Tesla and Elon Musk. But we get excited and then they do something stupid like launch a shitcoin or go back on it or whatever. I mean, I already hear like little whispers about Tron for some reason going on in El Salvador. I'm not sure what's going on there, but I'm not really going to put the brakes on or ask people to, because people are going to get excited. And if the president switches around and starts shitcoining or doing something silly like mandating use of government apps for using Lightning or something like that, or some sort of egregious regulation, then he'll get absolutely ripped to pieces by the maximalists. And that's just part of the way it works with Bitcoin. Like Elon Musk was the greatest guy ever because he took Bitcoin and he said, not only are we doing it, we're running full nodes. It's all open source software. We'll be keeping the Bitcoin that we get for our Teslas. He did everything right for a little while and we celebrated him. Then he turned around and just started attacking for no reason. And then he got his reputation was just destroyed pretty much overnight by, again, Jack Mallers, who is a big part of he's the main reason all this stuff is happening in El Salvador too. So it's good until it isn't good, but hopefully this one just remains good because, like you say, he seems to be a maximalist and he seems to be just getting everything right so far. I'm happy about it. I'm really happy about the news. And I keep hearing about Trojan horse theory, that even if it is nefarious and even if they want to do something authoritarian, it's Bitcoin. So if they turn around and start being authoritarians about it, Bitcoin is designed to root around governments. So once it's in, you'll never get it out. And if you decide to try and squash it down for some reason, because the political environment is going to change hugely for El Salvador now. They're not going to be a backwater country for long. They're going to accelerate and overtake everyone else, particularly given what a disadvantage all the COVID crazy countries are in right now. El Salvador could be unrecognizable this time next decade. So who knows who comes to power? Who knows what happens? But Bitcoin is going to be a dominant part of their culture, which means authoritarianism will just be so difficult to push on people. Yeah, that's my take.
Yeah, no, that's a great take. Jimmy, you want to add anything else before I throw in my 2 cents on all this?
No, you throw in your 2 cents, man. You need a turn too.
So this is the thing. I don't. Shitcoiners either get to you early or they get to you late, but they're common. So in this case, the shitcoiners didn't know El Salvador existed, but they sure as hell do now. So in this particular case, they're swarming. They're trying to, well, if you like Bitcoin, ours is better. And there's only so much that a person could, like very, very few people have the mental ability to tune it all out. Eventually, somebody gets to you. And this has happened over and over and over again. And that is why the number of Bitcoin purists, I like to call them shitcoin minimalists, is slowly decreasing because we're losing them left and right all the time. And new ones that are coming in are more open-minded to the shitcoinery. And so just like with Elon Musk, I'm going to take a wait and see approach. I think like Michael Saylor was probably like the latest big name to come in as a full Bitcoiner. Is probably going to stay that way. The senator, Cynthia Lewis, she'll also probably stick around because they have proper advisors, people that are connected to them that will keep them on the straight and narrow. So let's hope Jack Mallers can stay the same way with the president of El Salvador. But eventually, the greed for printing your own money is too strong, and very few people stay on that path. So I hope it remains that way. But hey, it was a good start. Even with Elon, it's a good start. I'm sure Elon understands. Some people are just too proud to admit they fucked up. And Elon's probably one of those people, and several others. We may or may not get them in the show. But anyway.
Jimmy, I wanted to ask Jimmy something. Do you think if El Salvador want to make something that exists using Bitcoin as a reserve, some sort of token, or even like paper currency used to reflect gold in a vault somewhere, do you think there's a cryptographic way in which they can issue a paper, some sort of paper money that means, okay, all of the old folk or anyone without access to Android phones or something like that can be using Bitcoin, but in a way that they understand physically? Like, is there a way, do you think, where we can technologically do it, where we don't lose that much or we don't compromise that much of the verification element?
I don't think so, because the thing is, you can say something like, okay, there's only say 1,000 of these paper bills and whatever, and they could even have serial numbers 1 through 999. Or 0 through 999. But here's the problem. You can just print more than one number sevens or whatever. So,
there's just no way to get around that problem, but
no, because it'll verify just fine. It'll say, yeah, seven's a valid one and it's cryptographically signed or whatever. But they'll both do that. There's no, unless you know the whole set, it's you can't prove negative. Yeah.
Fair enough.
Right, so I'm gonna throw something controversial on here that Jimmy's gonna rip me apart. So I haven't looked much into El Salvador. It's just the country that I haven't paid attention to until like last week, and I've just been too busy to really Google it. So are they on the US dollar, or do they have their own free floating currency?
I think they have the dollar.
They're just using the dollar. They don't have a currency as far as I know.
Okay, so they're like Panama. I mean, they have their own currency, but it's pegged to the dollar. So it's pretty much the dollar.
It's just the dollar, yeah.
Okay, so here's what I can envision, and Jimmy can tell me that this is a horrible thing, but this is how I see it because again, I'm trying to be as realistic as possible. El Salvador will probably migrate off the dollar and have a bunch of Bitcoin in their reserve, but they will now create their own currency, which is kind of backed by Bitcoin. And they will obviously have the ability to print that currency. So they will be able to devalue their El Salvador currency, but they will have Bitcoin in their reserve. Now, they can increase the Bitcoin in their reserve if their mining operation from the government is able to be profitable, which is unlikely because government can't really run an operation. That's why the private sector will do such a better job running those miners instead of the government sector. But there are government employees, and these government employees have to be paid, and not all government services are profitable. So they function at a loss. The way the government pays for this stuff is either by borrowing money or by printing money. So I can totally envision a future where if the government of El Salvador doesn't want to borrow money from the IMF, as was mentioned, or any other taking on any other debt, they can avoid that by having a very small and lean government sector that is functioning based on a small amount of printed money, while having Bitcoin in reserve that will obviously go up in value. And their El Salvador money that they will have the ability to print out of thin air. They just have to do it as responsibly as possible, because we all know that printing money is irresponsible, but you can still minimize its impact. And that is also legal tender. So they will allow anyone to spend their Bitcoin, but businesses will also have to accept the government printed currency backed by Bitcoin, which will slowly devalue over time. It has to, unless the Bitcoin in their reserve is appreciating faster than the value of their money that they print, which is possible, though unlikely. And that is how their government sector could continue to function. Now, of course, the government, in order to be honest, they cannot lock down and mandate the value of their printed money. So their printed money has to have a free flow and exchange rate. And if the people of El Salvador feel like they're printing too much money, then the salaries of those government employees will buy them less stuff. So this is how they could kind of manage the economy with printed money, but they will have to be as honest about it as possible and as transparent as possible and as responsible as possible. Otherwise, the government employees will be getting paid in something like the Venezuelan currency. Now, Jimmy, rip tone apart.
Yeah, I don't think that's going to happen, man. They don't have their own currency right now for a reason. It's actually fairly difficult to go set up the monetary infrastructure for a whole currency. You have to not only go get a bunch of paper currency, which you have to contract out to people that are very good at making currencies that are not easily counterfeitable and everything else. You also have to set up a whole banking infrastructure around all of that. And you have to, charter the right banks and all that stuff. They're on the dollar, which means that they're kind of piggybacking off of the U.S., monetary infrastructure. And they're now on Bitcoin, which is piggybacking off the Bitcoin infrastructure. I honestly don't think they're interested in spending that kind of money so that they can have a modicum of more control. They could do that, I suppose, but you have already more convenient options, more desirable options in the dollar and Bitcoin. So I don't know if anyone, in order to do something like that, you basically have to take away legal tender status from the other two.
Not necessarily.
No, because then no one will use it.
Well,
no one's going to use it.
No.
The trouble is you have Bitcoin. The minute you have Bitcoin, any other currency just becomes kind of crappy, right? Like maybe I haven't digested what you said fully. Like it's sounding to me kind of like I'm kind of reminded about like the Cuban system, which isn't really what they do anymore, but they had two currencies. They're the convertible notes and the non-convertible notes, and different groups of people can use them, though they can flow between those two groups as well. But if one of those was Bitcoin, like the government currencies, like you're basically looking at like it's that situation everywhere else already, right? America, the Eurozone, we have a currency and we have Bitcoin. It's just Bitcoin's this minority niche thing at the moment for people that are just into it ideologically or whatever. But
you could do it, Tone, but there's a lot of cost to it. That's all, and not that much benefit.
I know, but let's be realistic. How do government employees get paid?
They get paid by tax revenue in a country like that.
Tax revenue never covers
bribery, man.
Well, they take IMF loans and things like that to cover the difference.
Avoid that, right? Like what?
Right. The thing is, the federal government there controls a lot of resources, and if they can, use those resources to make money, whether it's like, here's a geothermal energy place, let's get some bids for how much you want to pay us to get access to this energy, something like that. there are ways for them to make revenue. I think where things will work. And the thing is, I don't think their government is all that big. I mean, it's not a very big country, period.
I know, but it's still. And you also have to agree with me that the government managing things is not as efficient as the public sector can do.
Yeah, I mean, they don't have to manage it; they just have to sell the rights, like or whatever. Like,
or they sell the rights, but they have to collect some kind of a royalty from it. Otherwise, it's a one-time payment. That
right. So that's what you do is you
use up.
You do a request for proposal, and then okay, here and you get a nice revenue stream out of it. I mean, that's what you're gonna have to do as a government when you can't expand the money supply. Is you're gonna have to go earn it, and if you have resources that you have access to or have the ability to grant access to some of your resources to certain people, then you can go do that.
Right. So, okay, so here's the thing. Again, I'm being chewed out by everyone, but just think about it a little bit more in that, and I'm talking to the audience as well, of course. And so basically, there's, right now, there are two legal tenders in El Salvador, the US dollar and Bitcoin. And I think they can do better than the US dollar, right? So if they remove the US dollar and they create their own currency, that it's possible that that currency is no worse than the US dollar, right? So you still have two legal tenders.
That hasn't been the case of any other currency. Here's usually what happens is that you need a central bank, and the central bank has to keep a peg to the US dollar. So it's almost always slightly worse than the dollar at best. It's never better than the dollar. You keep a peg range around the dollar because otherwise imports are too expensive or exports are too expensive.
Bitcoin wasn't there. But Bitcoin wasn't there, right?
That doesn't make a difference. I like
Tom, why wouldn't they just use Bitcoin? Because there's going to be businesses they can regulate. They can charge taxes just like normal. What's the issue with the government employees just getting paid with tax revenue from Bitcoin?
Because this is the whole problem. I mean, you're in Canada.
All right. So here's can I succinctly say what the problem I think with your argument is? It's that you're assuming that such a government is so greedy that they would need to create their own currency, but so disciplined that they would make sure that they don't inflate it more than the US dollar. I don't think those two are compatible. You can't do that.
So look, the reason why El Salvador was on the US dollar is because, like you said, they didn't trust their own government enough to keep a stable economic system. So they had to outsource that stable economic system to another currency. Okay. That currency was the US dollar because it was the most stable currency they can use without screwing up their own economy. The US dollar will now be replaced by Bitcoin as a more stable currency looking forward for the next 50 years. Okay. So Bitcoin replaces the US dollar, but you still have a problem as to how government employees get paid. And we all hate a world where we're being taxed up to 50%, and that is still not enough for the government to function. And now they're going to take on IMF loans. Now, the US doesn't take on economic loans, but the other countries do. So how do you avoid a problem of going into debt to the IMF, assuming the IMF will even give you loans because they hate Bitcoin? So El Salvador is going to have a problem because right now they will have two currency. Once Bitcoin becomes more stable and better than the US dollar, they no longer need the US dollar, but they still got to figure out a way to pay their government employees because you can't print Bitcoin out of nowhere unless they can run a very efficient mining operation that gives them profit.
I mean, you do what every other government before the fiat era did, which was have a balanced budget. It's not that hard, dude. You make it sound as if it's impossible to run a government unless you're running a huge deficit. That's only the norm in the last 100 years. That hasn't been the case for most of history.
I think there's going to be some emergence to the whole thing. If they really can't resist it and they have to make their own parallel currency to finance their own existence, and just mere taxes and Bitcoin, which might be, all the efficiencies that come from Bitcoin, maybe they can have a way lower tax rate than what we're used to, and maybe that's enough to fund everything. But Bitcoin's by its own nature is designed to prevent stuff like this from happening anyway. But if it just does, and as an emergent phenomenon within the country, like, I mean, remember, they can also make revenue from contracting to foreign contractors. You want to come and mine on our volcanoes? Come ahead. Like, if you're based in a foreign, like, there's some business opportunity, But
right,
if it happens and they make their own currency, if they make their own currency and they go for it, then it's just a matter of time before, even if they do it with the best intentions in the world and the most discipline, like, presidents come and go, things change, like, eventually someone will come along with no discipline. And Bitcoin is always a catalyst to hyperinflation because it's such good money that a pathway always becomes established between those who can print the shitty money and a way of acquiring Bitcoin. So very quickly they just start printing a lot because they can buy more Bitcoin.
And that's also my point, right? As long as Bitcoin is legal tender there, Bitcoin will keep them honest into not overprinting. That's the thing. Like whoever that future dictator is would have to ban Bitcoin first. All I'm saying is getting off the IMF, and the lesser of two evils is to try and responsibly have your own currency with Bitcoin keeping you honest, so it's harder to fuck that up.
So Tone, yeah, I don't think that's ever going to happen.
Evils than dealing with the IMF. It's just a lesser of two evils.
Well, so here's what's not going to happen. If you get a greedy dictator, they're going to stop Bitcoin being legal tender, and that's it. And
agreed.
Then they'll make their own currency. I don't see a situation where they keep Bitcoin and create their own currency, as if because if you're greedy enough to go create your own currency because you want to be able to print up the wazoo or whatever, then you're not going to keep Bitcoin around. You're going to make it very difficult for. In fact, you're probably not going to keep the dollar around either. You're probably going to say, I'm going to make my, like, your scenario. Just, I don't see any scenario where that happens. It's if you're going to make your own money, you have to give it every advantage possible. Because no one else is going to want it except the people in that country. As it is, like, it's difficult enough for them. So, like, the scenario that you laid out, just it doesn't work. There's no possible scenario where that's the thing.
Like, I see it. Like, I'm not saying I'm a fan. I see it, and your statement that the only reason why El Salvador would create their own money is to print it up the wazoo. That's not necessarily true, right? Like, this is going back to the
no, because that's kind of what you said. That's what you said, because they want a deficit spend. That's printing up the wazoo. If you want to pay your employees and you're spending more than your revenue, that's the reason you create your own money. That's printing money. That's exactly what it is.
All right. Well, we'll see. We'll see where it goes. But, like, in 10 years from now, I can certainly see Bitcoin and their own currency.
I can't see that happening, and I'll take a nice bet on that.
That's how I see the future.
All right, I'll take a bet on that, and it could be like you could pay for my daughter's wedding or something, because
I think if that did happen, just to sum up on the El Salvador thing, if we're moving up, like, if we do go down the weird compromise route with any of this stuff, with shitcoining or with governments inventing their own currency, which is yet more shitcoining, really. Like, first off, after the Bitcoin conference, I tweeted, there's only 3 things in life that are certain, which is death, taxes, and shitcoins. And, if it happens, it happens. But I forget my point, guys. Sorry about that. But
it's okay. Yeah, and guys, also keep in mind that, I mean, I talk about things that I see happening. It doesn't mean I want them to happen. Those are two independent things, right? Whether I want that to happen and what I think will happen are always independent. Like, I want the theorem to go to zero.
I don't think anyone thinks that. I just don't think yours is a realistic scenario. Because the only reason two people do that is to print money.
Yeah, sorry. My point came back, and to what you're saying. The fact is, how, even if an authoritarian like Jimmy said comes in and they ban Bitcoin, and, like, I'm just, good luck, because not only are the population using Bitcoin, they're using Lightning as well, which makes them sort of immune to shitcoins on a whole nother level. Like, if Ethereum comes along and tries to push themselves on on the El Salvadorian politicians. They're going to be like, what? The gas fees are a fortune. We're just using everything instantly for free. Like Lightning is the killer of shitcoins, right? Because shitcoins are almost always dependent on the narrative that Bitcoin's kind of clunky and slow and expensive. And it changes all of that to fast and, fantastic and cheap and all that stuff. So, yeah, just to round up on the El Salvador thing, I think once you use Lightning, good luck getting any other currency in. And if you make it illegal, guess what? Lightning's private. Authoritarians are going to struggle, and authoritarians are always going to want you to have as much Bitcoin for themselves as possible. They're not going to want really anything else, even if they obfuscate that one thing.
All right, so yeah, wow, we really, I really started. Yeah. My whole audience hates me now. But hey, so while all the miners are now going to be moving to El Salvador to mine off of the volcanoes, China is banning Bitcoin once again for like the 300th time since we started this show about 5 years ago. So this time around, they're going after their mining sector. So again, all that FUD, how mining is centralized in China, or technically, it's not even supposed to be mined there legally. I haven't seen any disruption in Bitcoin mining. The mempool is completely empty. So is this more like talk and not actually happening? Or have you guys heard anything about miners actually getting the hell out of Dodge? Like what's going on here with this latest China mining ban? Lex, let's start with you.
Yeah, I haven't looked into this too deeply, sadly, but I think we've seen two severe drops in difficulty. One might have been due to the weather. I'm not so sure exactly. That seemed suspiciously close to the last time we blamed a difficulty drop on a weather change in China. So yeah, it looks like really the China flood was real for once, and that miners are getting the hell out of there. But it doesn't matter. Miners just go somewhere else, to be honest. It's a convenient counter to the narrative that these shitcoiners have, where they say, oh, all the mining or 60, 70% of Bitcoin mining happens in China, therefore China controls Bitcoin. We know that's not true anyway, but it's still a pain in the ass having so much mining happening in such an authoritarian country. So it would be nice to have mining more evenly distributed around the globe, move to places that are better. And I don't mind really. Like the volatility and the difficulty has meant that we got incredibly expensive transactions for a while, which caused actually a bunch of use cases to evaporate and some other people to start batching where they weren't, or using SegWit when they were just using legacy or nested SegWit, which means now that every time the difficulty adjusts, we have like suspiciously empty mempools. It's been really weird to see, right? Like these blocks, like even in the middle of the week, we've had blocks, like just you can 1 sat per byte up to 3 sat per bytes. Like that hasn't been possible for years that I can remember, like outside of weekends anyway. So it's kind of cool having a massive spike in the difficulty in either direction, because it either means you get to consolidate a bunch of transactions or UTXOs rather, or open a bunch of Lightning channels, or the opposite, you force a bunch of like irresponsible actors like Coinbase and blockchain.com and all these people who just abuse the blockchain and charge their customers extortionate fees for doing withdrawals or processing them. And you start to use the blockchain more efficiently, as you should. So that's been good to see. But back to the China mining thing. Yeah, I mean, they can do it. If they really want to go and be assholes about mining, then it's just going to suck for them in the long run. We know Bitcoin will survive, but if your country is hostile to Bitcoin, you're not going to survive that long.
All right, Jimmy, your thoughts?
Yeah, I am hearing a lot of the miners are actually trying to leave China. There was an article maybe a couple of weeks ago about a lot of Chinese miners looking to find placements for their mining equipment, and it's not that easy to do, right? Like you need a lot of cheap electricity somewhere, and you need facilities to be able to put the mining equipment in, and so on. And that's not necessarily that easy. So they're gonna do that. They're trying to set up outside of China. And the article basically said there's only about 1/4 of the mining equipment that's looking to leave China that can actually get placed outside of China. So stuff like the volcano, geothermal energy, that can't happen fast enough because there's a lot of equipment looking to be placed. And that leads to what's happening with the mempool. It did clear last week, but it's building up again pretty fast because mining has slowed down. I think what we've seen the past few days, especially, a lot of equipment has dropped off, probably relocating from one place to another. And we're going to have a difficulty adjustment of -5%. So it's getting easier, not more difficult after this difficulty adjustment period. And that's not a bad thing. Also, just a quick thing about the mempool clearing. The rumor has it that the reason is because of blockchain.com. They finally implemented SegWit, and they wanted to make sure that they did that before Peter Smith got on stage at Bitcoin 2021. So everything started to clear right around then. And it's kind of, that they were abusing the network by keeping blocks fuller and causing everyone to pay more fees because they were being kind of selfish, basically.
Yeah, we need this, man. We need people to it's been such a cleansing thing having a 16 to 20% drop that one time, meaning that we had such slow blocks for, a week or something like that, that you literally just couldn't do that stupid thing where you wouldn't batch your transactions, you wouldn't use SegWit, and you would just have so many transactions clogging up the block stream because it's been financially just about doable for too long. So it's like, no, if you want to do that, you're going to pay like $70 for every transaction every time a customer makes a withdrawal. So can you please actually stop shitcoining for 5 minutes and like use Bitcoin properly?
Right. And you just referred to blockchain as Blockstream, so you're going to get a lot of shit for that one later.
Oh, Blockstream? Oh, my bad. I didn't realize it was a topic. Okay, so focusing on Liquid for 5 minutes. All right.
So, yeah, I agree. And I'm actually curious if BitMax ever finally started, batching transactions as well and using SegWit addresses, though they're not as popular as they once were because they used to clog up the mempool every morning when they were doing their withdrawals. So hopefully they are also using the latest in SegWit, and that would solve a lot of the problems as well. All right, guys, moving on to our last story, which last night, I did not even know what the hell this thing is. It's called Bitclout. I've never heard of it. So, of course, last night, a bunch of news breaks. And man, people are like crushing Robert Breedlove. And I personally like the guy. Jimmy, this one is hitting close to home because he was an author alongside you thank God for Bitcoin. Man, some people are really going at him. I really wanted to avoid the story. I hate talking about shitcoins. But in this case, I mean, I know I have a couple of things to say. So I guess Jimmy will start with you. You know him best. I'm just going to give a little bit of a backdrop. It all started with the following tweet. Would love to hear what the free market thinks about Bitclout. I'll be taking a look at it over the next week. The first non-Bitcoin project I've looked at in a while. Here's the link to the profile. This is the link to his profile. His profile is worth $1,517 in the Bitclout token.
No, that's per coin. It's 80K for his whole profile or something.
We know how many Bitcoin he has?
No. Look below. Total USD lot below there. Coins in that's a coin price. Coins in circulation. Total USD lock. USD market cap.
Wait, but that. Okay, so I also looked up my profile and your profile. I didn't even know we had that yesterday on reserve. How come my token is worth a different amount than his token? And that now I'm very, very confused.
Yeah, so the way it works, if I understand correctly, is that anyone can buy additional ones that you can either buy from somebody that already has some, or you can buy newly issued ones. If you buy a Vays token right now on Bitclout, it's going to cost more than $920. And then that'll be the new coin price, and that'll calculate
wait, so
a new
each
market cap.
person has their own token? See, because right here I see Bitclout price. So I figured the token has a price, and you get X number of tokens based on how popular you are.
No. That's not how it is. It's everyone has their own token.
So everyone has their own token. Oh, okay. So this is going to be very fun to discuss. So everyone gets their own token and their own token. So it's like a Bitclout.ToneVays token.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's what it says. Bitclout.com/u/ToneVays. If you put in any other.
I thought that was just the URL to get to my profile, like Twitter/ToneVays. I didn't know.
Yeah, it is. This is your Bitclout thing. You haven't claimed it. So they created it for like the top 50,000 Twitter people. So I had one. I had one that they made on
mine is worth more than you. I was very surprised.
I don't know. Maybe it's because I'm so anti altcoin. I don't know. But yeah, that's how it is. My USD market cap's 34K. But yeah, it's the thing about Bitclout is that it has a lot of backers from Silicon Valley. I think the Winklevoss twins, Chamath,
right. So Elon Musk's is 54K. They have like
but I mean, Elon, I don't think is on there.
Does the blue check mark mean that they've claimed the account?
Yep. So Balaji is a big investor.
So you can see who the shitcoin. So you can see who the shitcoiners are. This is beautiful.
Yeah. You can. Well, they're sort of like their coins are worth a lot because of that.
This is such an egregious scam that I almost feel like it was invented by a Bitcoin maximalist just so we could weed out all the top level people that are just going to sell their reputation.
Okay, so let me defend Breedlove right away. He has not yet claimed his profile. He did put this project on the map, and we're talking about it even on this show, but he has not yet claimed that token. So let's not go too far and refer to him as a shitcoiner yet. All right. So
actually, can you scroll down a little bit?
Yeah.
I guess they don't show you. Oh, click creator coin, the tab a little above. Yeah, there.
Oh,
right there. Yeah. Okay. All right. So you see how many of his own coins were like given to him? It's like 34, right? And all of these other people are just randos that bought coins because they thought it might go up in value. So it's a way to speculate or something.
Oh, so these people bought the coin thinking that he's going to join and take the money, and then their value will go up.
Yep. That's how it works.
Okay. So how is that working for you and I? This is look.
I think we all got the same amount. It's like 38-ish. Yeah. So you actually have a few people that I guess
think that I will take the money. No, look, I'm actually finding this fascinating. Don't get me wrong. Like I don't plan to join, but that's the same person.
Obviously knows you and me. Yeah.
But I really want to talk about this because this is actually interesting. So before we dive into this, so there was a post here, like these are the other, I guess, notable people that are talking about Bitclout. And I'm sure Ari Paul has already joined. A lot of these people joined. Justine, Miss Hodel, weighed in on the whole thing. So and people
she's super toxic, man. I'm so impressed with how toxic she's become lately. A round of applause for Miss Hodel.
And by the way, it's the toxic maximalist that finally got blockchain.com to add SegWit, because if we didn't exist, it'll take another decade. Okay, so this was borderline. This was brutal. I kind of have Matt Odell just really crushed him. I hope you guys can hear it. And again, I'm going to be defending Breedlove a little tiny bit, but Matt Odell really crushed him. I have to play it.
Yeah, I don't see myself ever. If you ever see me tweeting something like that.
There's situations where especially newcomers come in and they're confused. They're confused. They think we're going to live in this like multi-coin crypto world with all these different digital assets and shit. That is fucking one thing, okay? Breedlove spent fucking years cultivating this fucking affinity scam. He cultivated this idea of like a Bitcoin only thing. Spent 3 hours on Lex Friedman talking philosophy about fucking Bitcoin and shit. Super successful businessman, super successful Bitcoiner, yada, yada, yada. And then he fucking does this and he doesn't even fucking admit he's wrong. He fucking doubles down on it. He goes, I will die on this hill. Fucking Jack Mahler said he would die on this hill because fucking governments are going to come after him because he convinced a nation state to adopt Bitcoin as a legal tender. And 2 days later, you're going to say you're going to die on the fucking Bitclout hill? Are you fucking kidding me?
Yeah, it's bad.
Fucking ridiculous. This is 2021. This should not still be happening at this point.
Yeah. No.
I think Matt was way too harsh there, and I think he mischaracterized what Robert was doing a little bit.
He's not dying on the BitClout hill. He's dying on the.
Yeah.
I should be able to fucking look at whatever I want without everyone attacking me for it or regretting it. Like it's a little bit.
I will die on the hill of like going and looking at stuff and saying that I'm going and looking at it.
The intellectual curiosity hill.
It's not. I am defending BitClout. That's not what I said.
But can I? Like, I think you guys are. I think I have the lowest opinion of him out of the three of us here. So to be useful to the conversation, I'll attack, not in the manner that Odell did there, because I think that's over the top. But I do agree with what he said at the beginning, which is people come in with open minds, and BitClout is just a cynically designed scam, deliberately designed to get attention from influencers. That's the way it's structured. It's not designed in any, like Dogecoin isn't set up like that, right? Like Bitclout is specifically, how do we get big, powerful, influential Twitter personalities to sort of check out what we're doing? And like, okay, the thing is designed specifically so, right, that if you tweet about it, then you get access to your Bitclout. So it's literally like, we're paying you to advertise it within our protocol. We're paying for attention. And we don't say anything about whether, like, so people can plausibly, deniably come along and say, hey, I've just found out this shit coin. It's super shit. I'm not interested in it. And then they post their link. Then they get access to their money and they get to sort of deny that they were endorsing it. And that's where the disingenuousness comes in, that I'm like, that's like, if you were to, after this, Breedlove, if he was just to say, yeah, I think I kind of fell for a bit of a cynical setup here, something that's marketed to kind of suck in people, and now I've maybe sent a bunch of people towards a scam. I shouldn't have done that, or something like that. That would be fair enough. Couple that with the fact that he hasn't done that, and couple it with the fact that just a bunch of other Twitter celebs like Ari Paul all did exactly the same style of tweet on the same day. That just makes me think there's just something going on behind the scenes. There's some money being passed under the table, and like people aren't really being genuine about it. But like, I don't know, Breedlove is really, really highly regarded and given a really afforded a great reputation in the space. So I'm not sure. Like he was doing the talk in the tent I was talking in before me, and I couldn't get in because there was so many people, and there was a standing ovation for him at the end. And the only reason anyone even watched my talk at the conference is because everyone was just still in the tent from when Breedlove had just been in. So I don't know. Like I'm reserving judgment a bit, but I have a pretty low opinion of it. So you guys want to defend, right?
Well, no, I mean, I kind of want to take the money that they're giving me for free, right? Like, because essentially that's how they bribe you. They gave Tone, me, Robert, like 38 of our creator tokens. I want to dump this on the market and take the stupid Silicon Valley money, all the VC. I want to take Chamath's money, Balaji's money, right? Like that. I want to go do that. Now, I think Robert is basically saying, hey, like I'm looking into this because he knows he can probably get like $30,000 for his coins or something like that. And hey, who doesn't want a free $30,000? The thing is, and he has like 30 something of it. The thing is, I want to do that, and I want to, but like the thing is, they kind of designed it so that if you do that, anyone that bought your token then kind of gets screwed because you just dumped a whole bunch of your tokens on the market, so it dilutes it and lowers the price for everybody else, and it's like, you suck because you're clearly the one with more coins than anybody else. But I mean, that said, that's kind of like I was tempted to go do that, but I don't know, after the feedback.
Well, you can't do it now because
because then like I mean, basically you have to tweet out something to go
well, why don't you tweet? It's just like dumping Bitcoin Cash or SV or anything like that. Just say this stuff's shit. Don't buy it. I have a bunch that I didn't even want. I'm selling it. Like that. Then you get to walk away with integrity because you never endorsed it. You never implied there was any sort of anything.
I would do that, except I believe that they look at the tweet that you do, and if it says anything like that, then they
I rest my case. Then this is the most cynically designed scam I've come across in the space. And that's saying
and that's because it used all the VC money that they got. So I would love some of that VC money, but I might just do what I think it was Preston Byrne did and say, okay, you have no right to use my image and things like that. So
yeah, that sounds more. I think you'd have a lot of integrity if you were to approach it that way. And if I can just complain about Balaji for a minute, he is just with the El Salvador news, everything was, hey, El Salvador's accepting crypto. They're going to mine crypto on a volcano. Just these people cannot say the word Bitcoin. They're Brian Armstrong all over again. And they only do it because they have scams to pump. And it's this Silicon Valley, the Winklevoss twins are full of it as well. It's they just can't seem to approach this whole thing with the integrity that you should be approaching it. It's like, do either of you know the name of that woman that was talking on the Nakamoto stage who spent a minute just saying, look, if Bitcoin succeeds, if shitcoins succeed, it's because Bitcoin succeeded. But if Bitcoin succeeds, it's in spite of all the muddying of the water that the shitcoins do. It was basically one of the best points in the whole Bitcoin conference, I thought. And I can't remember her name. I want to see the whole talk, but it's just driving me crazy. After the Bitcoin 2021, you remember, Tom, we sat down next to that guy and he was talking to me about how Peter Todd is a CIA operative and we got small blocks to cripple Bitcoin and all these stupid things, that you hear from the Craig Wright camp. This was the conference where I was finally I've had enough of shitcoiners. I just can't entertain it with patience anymore. I've spent years explaining this stuff to people, but now. Do you find, man, it's just impossible to even entertain the conversations anymore? I'm just I can't do it. I can't be bothered to sit here and explain.
That's not even my most frustrating thing in the space. If some stranger comes up to me with these kinds of wild theories, I ignore it. What bothers me is, people that have been following me for a while and they seem to understand it. They're like, and I get this message, Tone, I agree with you. Everything else is a shitcoin. But this one thing, I'm sure you've gotten these messages, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, for me, the last one I got was people being like, what about NFTs though? And just
we're gonna get to that. We're gonna get to that in a minute. Okay, so let me throw. So Balaji just made $3.5 million from this thing. Okay, so
that's the market cap of all of his coins. He only has 40.6145. So that would be about
quarter mil, 3/4 of a mil.
Although the two below him might also be him. I don't know, but yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah. You don't know. Okay. So, a couple of things. So I've said this before, and I'll say it again right now. I'm a believer that it will just be Bitcoin because the opposite world is worse. Before Bitcoin, we had 180, or maybe not 180, we had about 120 global currencies. And I don't know, maybe 3 million securities like Apple stock, Tesla stock, whatever. Since Bitcoin, we are moving into a world where every single person has his own currency. This is a prime example of that. Every single person has his own currency. Every single company has its own quasi-currency, quasi-security with no regulation. So we are moving from a world where there are 120 currencies plus actual securities that you don't use as currencies to this weird combination of quasi-currency, quasi-security for every person and corporation and spin-off of a corporation known to man. I mean, you can look at FTX exchange where they have like 3 different coins. You can look at the crypto.com scam, which was the biggest sponsor at Bitcoin 2021. And they have multiple shit coins as well. So we are moving into the world with potentially 20 billion currencies. Maybe that is a better world to live in. I'm going to take the opposite side of that. I believe a world with just Bitcoin is better than 20 billion tokens to manage. I could be wrong. Let the free market decide, okay? This is the path to a world of 5 billion coins. Now, here is the really sad news. Boy, I almost got caught on one of these things as well, right? It's called float. What's that float thing? It's I don't want to be Googling. I'd rather go to Twitter. So if I go to Twitter, float. They were sponsored at that shitcoin event also. Float. Is it Get Float? Anyway, I'm gonna go on our monitor. 1 second, guys. Float crypto. So float protocol, right? So what's the? Not that I want to promote float. Float protocol Twitter. Oh, that's not what it looked like before. Shit. Anyway, I was looking when Twitter banned Trump and a lot of people were being banned on Twitter. I started looking for a Twitter alternative, and a bunch of stuff came up. Parler was still active. Gab. Mastodon is an option, and then I ran into this thing, Float, and it looked awesome. It looked like the perfect place to get off Twitter because it had Bitcoin integrated, and it had Lightning, and it had Bitcoin, and it was like a crossover between YouTube and Twitter, and it looked great. And I'm like, wow, this is awesome. And then I learned that they will have a Float shitcoin token, and that completely ended it. I even tweeted about it. I'm like, hey, this might be where I will be migrating to because it looked awesome. But that was before I knew there was a shitcoin involved. My life is simple. If there's a shitcoin involved, I'm not interested. Now, when I mentioned this thing, I didn't know there was a shitcoin involved. So I didn't even have to apologize. I didn't know. Now I know, so I would never actually use that product because of the shitcoin. But let me tell you what these guys did right. And I've been saying this for a long time. The only way to take down Twitter or Instagram is to grandfather popular handles and pre-reserve them for your platform. It is the only way. The only way to take down .coms is to pre-reserve every meaningful .com on your new internet. Without that, you will never get the critical mass.
Yeah, but that does mean that you're always going to end up with a centralized model, and that stops people. Like, ideally, I'd like to see everyone on Mastodon, like hosting their own instances, and I don't think it's too impossible. And then there's no pre-reserving because they're all it's a decentralized platform, or at least it's federated anyway. Like, maybe it's possible to combine the two, but Mastodon, I like that.
You need a way to combine the two, because my problem with Mastodon is that each instance of Mastodon, like someone else could be Tone Vays on a different instance of Mastodon. And I don't want to create 800 different Tone Vases across each popular federated chain of Mastodon. I'm sorry. I'm sticking to the bitcoinhackers.org. But if, Elon Musk comes out with his own version of Mastodon and someone else and a scammer gets Tone Vays there, what do I do?
That's a good question.
That's part of the deal, though. Like,
that's the problem.
If you get central, well, the thing is, then you have centralization and you have all the same risks of censorship and everything else. You're not going to get both. You can't get what you're asking for, basically. Something decentralized and something
I'm not asking for something decentralized. I'm asking, and I know it's a challenge, but Jack Dorsey should be, following the First Amendment and defending the First Amendment. And if the U.S. government followed its own constitution, they would force Jack of Twitter to follow the First Amendment and give them freedom of speech.
Not going to happen. Not going to happen.
it should happen, right? Like that's the problem. And a decentralized system is too chaotic. Thank God Bitcoin is still working, but I just don't see it working in social media. So what these guys are actually doing, other than the shitcoin angle, is actually really, really smart. And I applaud that, because the only way to get critical mass because to me, this looks a little bit like a Twitter competitor, right? Is this a Twitter competitor? Like, what's the point of Bitclout?
It's to cash in on your fame, basically. So it's relying on well, you get 40 coins, and they're like, okay, now you can give away coins to your followers if they do something for you or something like that, and then grow your clout is what
I
they
think
call.
it's basically BitConnect for celebrities. That's the way I'm looking at it.
No, but like, is there a social media platform behind it, or is it just
Yeah, it looks like it. Yeah.
There is,
It
but
looks
like
like
very
Twitter.
few people actually use it. They like, the only reason people go on there and do stuff is because of the money aspect.
Right. So I mean, this is Steam it all over again, right? But at least
I know you like the fact that like they reserve the names or whatever,
Yeah.
but like honestly, I don't like that. I don't like the centralized, like, Uber controller of everything that can basically dictate whatever you want. Because you might like it that you got Tone Vays, but that also means that they could take away Tone Vays from you and give it to a scammer if they so choose. Like I just don't think that's a great argument.
I know, but at least you have a chance at getting critical mass, because otherwise you will never get anyone. You will never get Elon Musk on your platform now that you want him now, but you'll never get these high profile names. You'll never get the corporations on there, right? Because a squatter will immediately grab it. So like, for example, if I was to build a Twitter
Tom, what about the free market, man? Like, it's the same as DNS almost. Like, someone bought apple.co.uk years before Apple did, and eventually Apple had to give them millions of dollars for it. Like, why can't the free market just sort that out? Like, oh, this social network.
That is what happens, right? Like, this is what happened on Twitter. They're all, a lot of these usernames they bought because like someone was already squatting on it, like acting like the only way anyone ever comes over is because their username is available. Is just not true. It's based on market forces.
It is true. Look at what Clubhouse did, which I'm not even on. They pre-reserved. You have to connect with your Twitter handle.
But again, it's another Silicon Valley.
No. It doesn't connect to you. They didn't pre-reserve your name. Whatever name you have, you just connect your Twitter profile to. That way, you can validate it. That's not how it works.
So they give you the name based on the group. Oh, well, I'm saying
no. So somebody might already have Tone Vays. You just make like Tone Vays 2, and then you link it to the actual Tone Vays Twitter profile.
Which is why I would never go on there, because I don't want Tone Vays.
And yet there's hundreds of thousands and millions of people on Clubhouse. So that tells you that you're the exception, not the rule.
But I'm just saying, like, you're not going to take down Twitter with a decentralized Twitter without pre-reserving the names. It's just not going to happen.
You can't pre-reserve anything. It's decentralized.
I think it's clear you're wrong. There's so many people that came on Twitter and somebody was already squatting their name. So either they went with another name or they bought it from the squatter. Like, this happens on .com domains all the time.
No, but it's bad because they had a system that did not exist before. If you want to build something that looks exactly like Twitter, the only way you're going to actually be successful is if you allow them to grandfather their names through. Otherwise, no, not Gab, not Mastodon, not Parler. They ain't taking down Twitter. But if another platform comes along with clear-cut, it can be centralized as long as they have clear-cut rules on allowing you to speak, and they only censor like actual harmful comments, like I'm gonna kill somebody comments, then you can take down Twitter, but you have to grandfather the names. I just don't see it happening any other way.
I know that's a big issue for you. I just don't think it is for most people. And like, you have Tone Vays on Telegram, but they didn't reserve it for you. Somebody could have been squatting on it. And that's fine. Like and you would probably have another name on there. You happen to get it, so you're not complaining about Telegram, like not reserving your specific Twitter handles or whatever, because you happen to get it. But They work fine. Lots of people use Telegram. It's not a critical issue that you're making it out to be for any service.
My angle on it is like I just learned to love the chaos of decentralization, man. Like it's going to work out with Mastodon if it's going to work out at all, or something like that. I like that model. If it's not sustainable and not realistic, that sucks. But talking of dying on hills, the decentralized hill is the hill we all should be dying on, really. And Bitcoin's just the financial element of that, man. I like Mastodon, and it's easy to host your own instance as well. And then you can move between different federations. I believe I'm using the term right there. And then it's not just Bitcoin hackers, because right now if you're on Bitcoin hackers Mastodon, but you're not hosting your own instance, if that instance goes down, everything you have Mastodon related is gone. But if you host your own, then you can cross between different ones, not just Bitcoin hackers. And if they die or whatever, then you're fine.
Yeah, but Jimmy, this is why it would be so difficult to get me off of Telegram, because if there was a Telegram competitor that was very similar to Telegram, the easiest way for them to actually take Telegram down is to somehow pre-reserve their Telegram handles. But Telegram handles aren't public like Twitter handles, so it becomes a lot more challenging of an effort.
But what about when they should start censoring too?
Yeah.
What about when they just
what if the Telegram starts saying, okay, anything that is from the right side of the political spectrum is going to get censored?
Exactly. The problem is centralization and censorship, and just replacing that with a new centralized platform means you're going to run into the same problem again. Because the reason Twitter censors stuff is because they're forced to, because they're centralized, and you can force a platform to censor stuff when you have a central point of failure.
But again, we have a chicken and egg situation. How do you build a decentralized platform from scratch? How is that different than building something, giving people their grandfathered handles, and then flipping the decentralized switch versus announcing I'm building decentralization from day one? We all agree that you can't build decentralization from day one. Satoshi pulled it off. Great.
That's a fair enough point.
You can do that on Lightning. Like people do that, right? Like you just have to build on something that's already decentralized. That
is a good point. But then again, Breedlove is Breedlove 22, right? He's not Breedlove, and no one cares. Like, I don't think it really matters if you have some numbers after your name either. So,
and if you have some way to like cross-verify, or you can sign messages or something like that, I don't think it's a problem for people. Like there are already lots and lots of scammers that are pretending to be Tone Vays on every social media platform.
I know, man. Every comment below.
Same with Jimmy's song and everything else. I meet lots of people that are like, hey, yeah, I really want to get in on the deal that you told me about. I didn't give you no deal, man. What are you talking about? And this happens every day. You're not going to stop that because people don't verify anything. They're too used to trusting. And this is a cultural change that needs to happen. And I get that you like your fans and you don't want them to get screwed, but honestly, they just need to learn how to verify and not trust. This is the ethos of Bitcoin. And if that means like, checking that this Tone Vays is actually the Tone Vays that I think it is, well, that's an extra step that you should take and get used to doing, because that's what Bitcoin encourages you to do, and not rely on centralized services to take care of that stuff for you.
But Tone, you are right that these things, decentralized platforms like Bitcoin, did start as centralized platforms. Like everything at the beginning with, all upgrades to Bitcoin went through Satoshi. Like everything had to be done in that centralized way. And obviously mining was so small as well. So yeah, you're right. You could potentially contrive a network that protected a bunch of valuable, real estate, and then just be like, yeah, it's going to be about a year where we do that, and then afterwards I'll lose control of it and I'll walk away from the project. But I think those platforms are kind of hard to start without, a token that's native to it, like Bitcoin. And because Bitcoin exists, it will always be a scam coin. So I think you've got a lot of, like you say, chicken and egg problems and a lot of conflict of interest.
Right. And I'm just saying, like, I like the fact that they preset the handles. I mean, there's a couple of things. I mean, obviously, I don't know what this thing does, but like I said, if I had in the future, if no one has yet taken down Twitter, and we're talking 10 years from now, and I'm wealthy enough to try and do it, that's how I would try to do it. And yes, a lot of it is going to be.
You're worse than a single issue voter, Tone. I get that. That's the one thing that you want, but I'm saying that's not a good protection for you at all, because they could take it. If they can give it to you, they could also take it away.
The problem is centralization.
All right. Anyway, we've been arguing about this for years, so we'll see where this goes. Okay, guys. So we do have to wrap up the show. I do have to talk about price. I just want to go on one little minor tangent. So yesterday morning, or maybe 2 days ago, I don't remember now.
Oh my God, I didn't know this.
So what happened was I was on a panel, and it was like a conference. It was an online conference. It wasn't like the video wasn't public. It was for private people, but hopefully I get the video. And there's a couple of people on there, building blockchains, and a lot of people sound smart. And of course, there's a token, and everyone wants to build a blockchain. One of the people on there that I was on the panel with, I didn't get much time to say really what I really wanted to say. And he said, well, we're solving this problem in West Africa. East Africa. It was out of Uganda. And then he's like, we're helping people with identity. There's not enough people with identity. So we're putting the identity in the blockchain, we're solving this problem. And he literally, this was 2 days ago, this news just broke. And he literally said, well, one of the issues is there are so many unregistered people in Uganda. And in order to get a SIM card, you need, AML KYC, like KYC, know your customer. They have to know who you are to get a SIM card. And that's why we're building this blockchain. We have a blockchain. We put people's names in it. So I asked him, like, well, what blockchain are you using? And then he's like, well, we have our own. And then I went off on this rant saying, the problem isn't, like, blockchain is not a solution. The problem is KYC and AML laws. No, and I literally yelled at, like, no one should have to do KYC to speak on a damn cell phone. And then he replied to me, no, it has to happen because of terrorism. And literally the next day, this news breaks that the government is cutting off people's ability to speak on a cell phone if they don't take the vaccine. So no, the KYC for SIM cards has nothing to do with terrorism and everything to do with control. So I just wanted to make this clear.
Yeah, I agree. Look, man. I think on the back of this shirt that I got at the Bitcoin conference this is a BISC shirt. This is a decentralized exchange. That the entire principle is KYC is the illicit activity, because inevitably, if you take the data of people that are doing stuff with Bitcoin, whether you're BlockFi, for example, you will lose it. And then you will cause harm to those people. If you give hackers a list of peoples and their addresses and the amount of Bitcoin they own and the addresses that Bitcoin is sitting at, you're creating an extremely dangerous piece of data, because if a criminal gets hold of it, or someone with questionable morals, they can steal from you and they can threaten you. You risk kidnap, like just the worst kind of stuff. And it's because of KYC, and it's the ultimate slap in the face that you're told it's for your own safety, and it's not.
All right, so let's talk a little bit about Mempool. We are in the 20 sat per byte range to get your transactions cleared. The Mempool is only up to 22 blocks, but we completely cleared the Mempool last weekend. So hopefully we can keep it in that range. And Taproot is almost certain to get in. I think at this point, even if 50% of the last set of blocks are not signaling for Taproot, it will make it. So that's great. Thoughts? I guess, Lex, go first.
Yeah, we got Taproot's going to lock in. It looks like it. Interestingly, that last red block you see there is from, who is it again? Yeah, Binance. So I'm not sure why they did that. I'm not sure why. I mean, they have different areas of mining, right? Different pools. So maybe one of them wasn't upgraded yet. But yeah, Taproot's locking in. It looks good. Both clients are going to lock in. Not that really anyone's had much reason to pay much attention to the BIP8 client that I released, but that will lock in as well. It's the same parameters as what Core released. So Taproot comes pretty much without a hitch. I'm very surprised to see it, to be honest. I thought we'd max out around 80 to 90% and not quite make it. But like, I think it's Alejandro really deserves a lot of gratitude, because he's the CEO of Poolin, I think. Maybe not the CEO, but he runs it. And he just coordinated all the mining pool operators and asked them, and just, if they needed help with anything. And, he's done it, and we did it. We got Taproot. It looks like, tomorrow probably, that's when you can uncork the champagne.
Awesome. Yep. I think it locks in around midnight, right, Jimmy?
I mean, we've been getting slower blocks, which is why we're getting a difficulty adjustment downward. So it's going to get easier after the next 200 something blocks. We have like 95 blocks to go. I believe that's about 16 hours from now, something like that. So it's going to be like 4 or 5 in the morning tomorrow where I am. That's Central Time. Where you are, it'll be like 3 or 4 a.m. So it's going to be pretty, it'll be while we're sleeping that everything locks in, but I'm sure there will be some celebrating going on. But yeah, there's just, blocks are just coming in slower. There's a Binance Pool red dot, and I think there was like an Antpool red dot as well on one of these. I don't remember where. But this might give us a hint as to what's going on, btc.com. What's going on right now. A lot of this mining equipment is moving. And what I'm guessing is happening is that when they get reset up and running again, they forget to do all of the little changes to make sure that it's signaling for Taproot, and then they have to reconfigure or whatever. So there is mining equipment moving around right now, and I suspect that that's what's causing that.
All right, great thought. So, fun question: after it locks in, what's the process?
You can't use Core still has some logic to merge so that we can actually use Taproot, but that we've got until November for that to be handled. Right now, you won't be able to make Taproot transactions for 2 reasons. It's not actually active. After tonight, when it locks in, it won't actually be active yet. It will just be locked in. And when it is active, as far as I know, there isn't a wallet out there, wallet software out there that can handle Betch32M addresses yet.
Yeah, so it'll probably, I think it's mid-November when it actually is active on the network. If you're a developer that's working on this, the only place that you can really do this is on Signet, and you can play with pay to Taproot addresses there. So it's gonna take some time. Taproot is not simple, so I know for myself over the next 6 months or so, I'm gonna try to code it myself and make sure I see what cool things I can do based on all of the things that are there, write logic to validate, which, the mass tree stuff and processing these proofs and so on. And play with it on Signet probably. I'm probably going to have to go ask Callie for some coins.
All right. Oh, and before I move to the price, I just I forgot to make one last comment on something like this. So instead of creating a shitcoin, again, I see it as a Twitter competitor coming in. I know we're arguing it. I think handles should be grandfathered. And then instead of creating brand new money, I think that profiles that are high-end profiles like an Elon Musk, like, a Jack Dorsey or like Trump, they actually get potentially equity in that company. Like they get a cut of the ad revenue. So this is something that could be done without creating your own money. They would get a little tiny cut, and it would be percentage based on their popularity. And that's how you can also get a lot of the high-end people to switch without the need for printing of your own money. So that's another potential incentive. But of course, that becomes security. And another point is taking this money is not that simple, right? Because if you sign up and you take whatever, so let's say for Jimmy Song, if Jimmy Song publicly signs up for this and takes the $35,000, he would have to pay taxes on his $34,000 gain. And if he holds on to this shitcoin can go to zero. But since the world knows he publicly took the money, the IRS is still going to want their cut. He's in a tax-free state, but there's still a federal tax bill. So he has to immediately sell at least enough to pay for the taxes on the $34,000 gain. So there's a mandatory reason why he's going to sell it, because he's not going to take a chance at having this go to zero and now pay the government, the 20 to 40% or whatever the tax rate is. So there's other consideration that people just don't think about. It's not $34,000. And if you there's just a lot of things that have to be considered before taking this money.
Not just that. It's actually 32.5 because that's the entire market cap. Also, everything about this is so sketchy. Like the coin price or the market cap is calculated on the current coin price. If you try to sell that at the market, there's no liquidity. So you end up getting a fraction of that. And there are people that are hoovering up everybody else's coins and whatever because they believe in the project. But it's I just don't want anyone messing with it. It just seems like such a bad idea.
What's your overall summary on the Breedlove thing then? Because I'm really not impressed with that, man. That's not oh, this is an interesting product. The whole thing is designed in such an obviously scammy way, and everything you do is you benefit from publicizing it, discussing it, displaying any sort of intellectual curiosity about it, framing it as that when it's really there's just nothing there apart from financial reward if you talk about it a bit, as long as you're not overly negative. I don't know.
I'll give you my brief thought. I think he fucked up by sending the tweet, and Bitcoin maximalists can be very toxic. I will not deny that. And this is one of those situations where he probably knows he made a mistake sending that tweet, and the toxicity of the Bitcoin maximalists at someone that has had a good reputation put him into a little bit of a corner, which didn't allow him to just admit the mistake and it just made everything worse. So I just think it was just a unfortunate situation all around, and I don't know if it's going to get any better. It's just one of these things we'll have to live with. It's similar to the Elon Musk situation.
I think it's sometimes people just scrape by with it, Jameson Lopp and Alan Silver. They do something a little bit off the rails, but they're just good. They're just pretty good anyway. So the community goes.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think Alan has a good reputation anymore. Jameson's earned it because he's been doing stuff for a long time. But I wouldn't say Alan's good right now.
To be fair, that might have been a bit of a stretch.
but yeah, I mean, this is a thing about a lot of people in this space, and it's something that Tone's talked about a lot. Is there's a lot of people in this space. That become prominent or whatever, and then they say or do something stupid and they can't admit it. They don't know how to take an L, and then
even Gavin, even Gavin said, "Look, Craig Wright somehow must have tricked me. I don't know how." Mm-hmm. Even Gavin had the humility and sense to do that, and oh my God, I don't think anyone has more.
Well, I mean, there's a reason why everyone thinks Eric Voorhees is a pompous jerk, because he literally can't admit that he's wrong. He doesn't know how to take an L. And he used to be a very prominent member of the space, but now he's just known as shitcoin king at this point.
Shapeshift was pretty. I never used Shapeshift, but it was pretty amazing, right? And that was his child, Eric Voorhees. Yeah.
And that ultimately what you have to do in the space is know how to take an L. And I hope Robert knows how to take an L. I think it's entirely possible he comes back with a tweet saying, okay, I looked at it, it's stupid, and I'm not going to do anything with it. Please take this profile off, something like that. And that's okay.
As toxic as we are, every time someone does that, we go, fair enough. If Roger turned around and was I don't think big blocks are going to work out, we'd be cool.
It's too late. You have a certain window, right? And this is where there needs to be flexibility. I mean, I personally still rank Breedlove ahead of Jameson Lopp. I mean, at least Breedlove didn't build a coin on top of Ethereum just yet. So, but again, I still like Jameson Lopp. I haven't been, toxic to him. So for me, look, you gotta. This part is in black and white. The black and white thing to me, if there is a token involved, I'm not interested in the company. If you've created a token, you're on the shitcoin side. But if you're not there, I have a real flexibility. The better your reputation, the longer you've been in the space, the more good you've done, the more slack I will give you. Like the more what do you call it? The more lenient I'll be before becoming a toxic maximalist. So far, I don't see a reason to get on Breedlove's case, but that's me. I could be wrong here. Maybe he'll keep doubling down. And there is a window to, like Jimmy said, to admit the L. And that window for Roger Ver was probably a year and a half. But it's now been over 3 years, and that window is long gone. So it's too late.
Oh,
okay?
It's been like 6 years.
Yeah.
You got to remember, he started this in 2015 with like RBTC and all that stuff.
Debating. Hey, there was one more thing. I know people want me to talk about the price, but here's the one thing I really wanted to talk about. I don't know if we have time for it, but I'm running into this problem all the time. NFTs. And here's where it gets frustrating. I constantly get people messaging me about a Tone Vays NFT, and they come in all shapes and forms and sizes. And hey, Tone, want to make that NFT of you, or it's going to be some kind of an action figure, or it's going to be some kind of a Mortal Kombat thing, and it's going to be your NFT. And this is a real challenge because as a free market advocate, contrary to the debates on this channel all day today, as a free market advocate, I can't stop them from making an NFT of me. I can't. And trying to do that will only draw more attention. And if someone is creating an NFT of me, they will just get to profit from the Tone Vays NFT. Now, they want me to share in the NFT in order to promote their NFT platform and potentially their NFT tokens. Now, not all NFT platforms come with their own native token. So now the first question I ask is, does your NFT of me involve your own native NFT token? And if their answer is yes, I say I cannot participate because I don't want to promote your token. But in some cases, they say no, we don't have a native token, but the NFT is going to be valuable. So who gets to keep the money? And it's another one of these boats. How are you handling this, Jimmy? Because right now I'm at a total loss how to deal with people that are messaging.
NFTs are all BS. So like, just say no. It's pretty easy. And like, if they try to make money off of your name, go sue them later, right? Like, or say, let everyone know that this is a piece of crap.
There's nothing unique to NFTs. They work exactly the same way everything works in the analog world. All you're doing is creating something and saying it's this and keeping a record of the ownership in a public ledger. That's the only difference. There's nothing.
It's a ledger entry that you're paying for a ledger entry, and it's the artist basically saying that ledger entry equals this digital thing, which doesn't make any sense.
And if you violate that agreement, all that happens is the same thing that happens with any violation of any other contract. You go to court. Or, they lose reputation because you complain about it online. What doesn't happen is Ethereum's blockchain animates, comes to life and enforces the conditions of the contract because it's external to the blockchain. And that's the central lie of NFTs. A blockchain can enforce ownership property for stuff native to it, but it can't to stuff external. So if someone paints a picture of Tone Vays and says, this is owned by this person, here's the record of that in Ethereum's blockchain. If they just go ahead and, do something that violates that agreement, nothing happens except maybe someone gets sued. Like the whole thing is just the most stupid scam. Like again.
Also, like NFT, like prices have been going down quite a bit. Just there's
the whole thing
been too many, and so they're not going to make much money at this point. Yeah,
a couple of months it's been since I've had people annoying me.
Just say no. It's exactly it's an altcoin. Every single NFT is an altcoin. That's it. Just say no.
It's like if someone came to you and was like, "Look, I bought."
We're going to make a Tone Vays coin, and even if you don't come along, we're still going to launch it.
Or if someone made a picture,
go ahead. I'm gonna go sue your ass for making it sound like I endorsed it.
It's fake affinity. Like if people are gonna make like a nightclub in Mexico and say, "Oh, Tone Vays owns this place," and people start going to it and they break their leg there or something, or get food poisoning, and then someone's like, "Oh, Tone Vays, what happened?" And you're like, "What? I don't have anything to do with that nightclub or restaurant." It's the same as that. It's just the digital version. So you can't fix stupid. You can't fix people abusing your name.
All right. I think we're going to be revisiting that topic in the near future as well, because these emails and messages from people that I personally know just keep on coming. All right. Let's go to the price. Wow, this was a long show, but we haven't done one in a while. So the weekly chart, we are still bouncing on an MRI buy. The weekly chart is a bit in the middle of no man's land. So there's not much to say on it. I can make both the bullish case and the bearish case. So we're just going to stick with the neutral cash position from a weekly perspective. The daily chart, we are inside this triangle. I adjusted it 2 days ago, and I have not had the need to adjust it since. Right now, I would not rush into Bitcoin from a daily perspective to the bullish side. We are slightly trending bullish. I've been forgetting to check the funding rate for a while. I love the fact that the funding rate has been negative for the last week or so, which gives the bulls some hope. Now, I have two markings for critical levels on the bull side. One of them is at 39,000, where we break the prior swing high. And normally, this would be a perfect entry to go long on the breakout trade. Unfortunately, you are running into the mother of all depth crosses, which is most likely going to reject the price of Bitcoin. So this is another reason why I am not rushing into the bullish trade. I would have loved to buy the dip at 28,000 had it occurred right here where these arrows meet. But I guess the volcanoes news out of El Salvador certainly helped spark the market. If the price of Bitcoin continues to form this triangle, I will then be pretty damn bearish on Bitcoin in June, looking for a pretty severe drop into the mid $20,000 range. No one wants to see that, but we are chartists here. So I am playing cautious. Right now, I would just stay in cash on Bitcoin. I would not rush in one way or another. Here is the 4-hour chart of Bitcoin. And I believe yesterday we hit an MRI top right there. And that has still marked the top for Bitcoin. On a 4-hour chart, the breakout level is at a lower area. I would say if we go above 38,000 on a 4-hour chart, you can certainly take the day trade to the upside, looking for $40,000 until it runs in to this depth cross situation closer to 42, but above the 39, somewhere here in the middle. So that would be a short-term trade to the upside. On GBTC, I'm also waiting for the breakout of the prior swing high, which will also create the same dilemma of going into the depth cross. So it is a challenge. I keep saying we have restored hope in humanity because the MRI buy on Bitcoin versus shitcoin in Bitcoin dominance has once again moved the price to the upside, just like it did right here. This is a beautiful plug for the MRI, which this is just pure textbook right there. I'll leave it on that. Gold, I've been bullish on gold. This is the daily chart of gold. Here is the weekly chart of gold. I still think gold has a high probability of breaking to new all-time high this year. We're pulling back a little bit here, but the chart remains bullish. The S&P, it says oil. Oil is bullish, and it has been for a while, and it stays that way. The S&P is breaking out. I think the S&P will go to the upside this summer. I see this as a beautiful breakout on the S&P. All right, that is it for me. I will be making announcements about both Unconfiscatable, which is coming back to Las Vegas in March. We are going to start talking about understanding Bitcoin in Dubai for October. And of course, the Financial Summit has gone on sale in Dubai for November, about a week in between the Understanding Bitcoin conference, which hopefully we'll announce soon, and the Financial Summit in Dubai for the trading professionals. All right, that is it for me. Jimmy Song, plug your life.
All right, I got 3 books for you, Programming Bitcoin. For those of you that are programmers that want to learn the Bitcoin protocol, that is the book for you. Little Bitcoin book, that is for your no-coiner friends that want to learn a little bit more about Bitcoin and have no idea. This is a very good intro. It's available in many languages. Go to thelittlebitcoinbook.com for languages as far off as Farsi and Mandarin and Arabic and many others. Thank God for Bitcoin is a moral argument for Bitcoin from a Christian perspective. And it is also available on Amazon. I am doing my seminar programming blockchain in Mexico, August 10th and 11th. I probably need to update this website to not include the Miami one. Yeah, that's right. So Mexico 10th and 11th. I am also going to be at the Bitcoin Standard Conference right after that. So if you are interested in learning Bitcoin programming straight from me, please apply now.
All right. And Bitcoin Mechanic. I'm going to pull up your YouTube channel now.
Thanks, man. Yeah, you can find my YouTube channel if you type Bitcoin Mechanic, but as one word. It's impossible to find it if you separate the words. It's still, it's not a very established channel yet. I only started it quite recently. Yeah, it's a lot of fun. It's an educational channel, really, but sometimes I discuss current events and stuff, just giving my own personal takes on it. And I do like live streams and just generally talk to viewers. If you want any videos on anything specific to Bitcoin, and then please request them, because I usually learn more about Bitcoin in the process of making the videos. A lot of fun, like doing it. And I'll be going to a couple of conferences, a couple of tones, and then Ugly Old Goats conference in Mexico as well, coming up in August. And I hope to live stream some of them as well. This is my Twitter, at grass-fed Bitcoin. Because of my accent, everyone thinks I'm saying CrossFit, but no, I'm saying grass-fed or grass-fed, as it sounds in the English accent. So it's grass-fed Bitcoin. You know, we're carnivores around here. This is my second time sticking to carnivory. I'm loving it. It's been absolutely great. Started just before the Bitcoin conference, and I'm having a good time. But I think I just want to finish by saying that I think I agree with Saifedean that chicken is a vegetable, but I think avocado is technically a meat, just because I can't exclude it. I think I agree with Tone on that one. Avocado is a meat.
I'm with you, Mechanic. I'm with you 100%.
I don't think so.
We're gonna hash this out next time, man, because we need to come to a resolution on avocado.
Well, does avocado eat other vegetables? Because that's at a minimum what it needs to do to be a meat.
Fair enough. All right, guys.
Hey, the show ran a little bit longer than usual. We do try to keep these to an hour. We'll do our best job. This was totally my fault. I started some debates with people that are clearly more liberty-minded, and we will do a better job next time. Tomorrow, I'll probably just do a price show with the private Q&A after the show, and on Sunday, we'll release all the private Q&As from the week. I am off to Miner Summit at Lake of the Ozarks next week as well, and then I'll have more announcements on my travel schedule. All right, guys, thank you all so much for watching. Jimmy, Bitcoin Mechanic, thanks for joining, guys.
Peace.
Fiat the Lenda Est.